Ladies and gentlemen, we're on the air. I'd like to welcome everybody to the March meeting of Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Commission. I don't believe we have to worry about establishing a quorum tonight, so glad to see everybody out. Chief Gary, would you open us with a prayer?
Bow your heads, please. Dear God, thank you for blessing us with these lives, that you've given us, the families and friends that you've surrounded us with, and all the blessings you bestow upon us. I just ask that you continue to watch over us, watch over our families and all those important to us, and keep all of our first responders and those affected by emergencies in your thoughts. In your name we pray. Amen.
Public address, do we have anybody to address the commission tonight? Okay. Seal, I believe you have an introduction to make for us.
Yes, this is Scott Shippey. He's the assistant town manager for Christiansburg, so we're glad that he's here with us. You gonna come to all our meetings?
I'm gonna try.
We're glad that he's here on.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
It's all right.
Well, welcome, Scott. Do you have anything, words of wisdom for us tonight?
No wisdom. I've been in Christiansburg since December in this role. I was actually worked for them from '97 to '06. So I was actually a member of this commission back in probably '06, '07. So it's interesting to be back after 18 to 20 years roughly. So
See a few of the same faces probably.
couple, yeah.
Glad to have you back. Well, okay. Zach, I believe. Where's Zach? There's Zach. I believe you have an introduction for us today.
Yep, so this year's elections, we had a change in chief. Myself and Ryan will be stepping down, and then Mr. Mike King will be taking over April 5th. So good luck to him and the guys, and he'll be showing up for all your meetings that you'll have.
Great, thank you, Zach. Welcome, Mike. Look forward to having you working with us. Zach, we're gonna miss working with you. So.
Miss y'all, I appreciate every one of you. Thank you very much for all your support and help over the past couple of years.
I think everybody got a copy of the minutes emailed to you. Hopefully you've had a chance to read those over. Floor will entertain a motion for approval when ready.
So moved. Second.
Okay, the motion's made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved as recorded. Thank you, Bonnie. Administrative reports, Supervisor Kitts.
So it's been a little bit, but hey guys, just want to make sure you know that we're going to have to move forward with Shawsville Elliston in order to do the 24-hour department down there. We haven't pushed any further than that right now. It's still in the working stages, but it is something we're going to have to go into, and Ms. Hill's going to go a little bit further, talk about timelines and things like that, but wanted you to hear it from us. Look you in the eye and make sure you know what's going on, and still make sure you know you've got our full support. It's one of those things that happens. So
Thanks, sir.
that's it.
That's it.
We are in the middle of our budget process. The budget was presented to the Board of Supervisors, the proposed budget, on March the 10th. And it does include funding for another shift to cover the night shift in Elliston Fire. And as Derek said, we do want to support the Elliston Fire Department, the volunteers that are there, and just supplement them with career staff to make sure that we're providing the safety that we need to in that area of the county. And we do recognize that it's hard, and I just want to say, like I do every time we have a meeting, how much the county appreciates you. I appreciate you. I know it's a lot of work and it takes time away from your families. I know you've had a hard, if we hadn't met since January, I think it's been a hard couple months. There's been a lot of things going on, and important calls that you responded to together, and I do appreciate that. I know it's a hard thing to do sometimes. So the next steps for that process are, the board is going to vote to advertise a tax rate and an advertised budget Monday night on the 24th of March. And then there will be a public hearing on April the 10th to evaluate that, hear from the public, and then the scheduled date for the adoption of the budget and the tax rate is April 21st. There is no proposed real estate tax increase in the budget this year. And in the proposed budget, we included everything that you guys had asked for as far as operating cost increases for the upcoming year. There are some one-time items that we're gonna recommend come out of one-time funding, so we're not including those in the operating budget because we can pay for those a different way. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get further along in the agenda, but if some things that you've asked for, if you notice that they're not in there, or if you wanna know what's in there for you, you can reach out to me or Michael or any of his people, and we'll help you make sure that we have everything covered.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right. Jason?
I just wanted to thank those of you that have been sending calls for review through to me through your joint advisory members on this board. I think it's helpful that we all keep looking at these calls and see how we can improve in both sides and overall provide the best service to the citizens is what we're all here to do. So continue sending those through your members, and we'll continue reviewing them, sending tapes out and everything else we need to do.
Thank you, Jason. Moving on to old business. Western Virginia EMS Council, Chief English, I expect that's you.
Yeah, I can do a quick rundown. So for those that aren't aware, I'm this body's representative on the EMS Council's board. And so we had a meeting about a week ago, and just a couple quick things. I'll kind of run through these quick, and then I can get with anybody offline if they want more details. But they reaffirmed the trauma, triage, and stroke plans and implemented a new regional STEMI plan. And they also did a little bit of update with the regional disaster plan. All of those plans should be on their website if anyone's curious or wants to look at those. And I should have copies too, I can send you. New protocols for the region went out or went live March 1st for the agencies that utilize those. And moving forward, their goal is going to be to release that around January of each year, just to kind of keep it with the calendar years, to keep it a little easier to follow. One of the big things that's probably in the process of changing after the reassessment of the EMS Council and how the EMS councils and the Office of EMS are structured, one of the big changes that they're moving forward with is changing from what they currently have of 11 regional EMS councils. They're gonna, I wanna say consolidate, but realistically they're creating 7 new entities, which are gonna be the new EMS councils. And so there's gonna be a period where basically they're extending all of the funding for the existing 11 EMS councils through the end of this calendar year. So that's like an automatic 6-month bump to finish out that year. And then by January 1st, they expect the new system to be in place. And so basically what they're gonna do is open up an RFP process for any of the existing councils that are 501c3 nonprofits or any other group that wants to, basically to put in a proposal to create or to manage one of those new EMS councils. So the Western Virginia EMS Council that we're a part of does plan to move forward with that, and they are going to be in talks with the other regional council that currently overlaps with the area that would be impacted by this to see if they can come up with some kind of a joint position to move forward with it. So likely not a lot of huge changes for us, but it's still too early to know what that'll exactly look like. And the other reason that they want to switch to those 7 EMS councils is it does match up with the Virginia Department of Health districts and also the Healthcare Coalition map. So it kind of makes all of those territories the same for each of those groups, which will be nice. And then the only other big update is the pharmacy transition. April 15th is the deadline, so hopefully most agencies are well on their way towards that. There's going to be a online town hall on the 27th at 5:30 that Western Virginia EMS Council's putting on just to kind of help make sure everybody's got all the last little bits in place. They are, for those agencies that are going to be purchasing medications through them, which is one of the options to get your meds, they are in the final processes of getting all of their stuff inspected by the DEA to become a distributor for that. And so they'll have an online portal where basically you could just go onto their website, and just like any other online marketplace type website, you put in what you want, order it, and they'll coordinate getting it to you. So that should be done soon, and next week is when they're going to kind of run down on all the final details of how to do that. I think that's all I got from the EMS Council, unless anyone has questions.
Thank you, Chief. No questions or comments on that. NRV 911 Joint Advisory Committee meeting.
So to tie into Jason's comments about the Joint Advisory Committee, first I want to say thank you to everybody that sent in questions and concerns that you've seen. As you all probably know by now, myself, Chief Hanks, and Chief English are the fire and rescue representatives for the county, along with Andrew Marinick from Virginia Tech. So we were able to bring some of those comments, questions, and concerns to the Joint Advisory back on March the 4th. We plan to meet every quarter to ensure that we're keeping up with everything and keeping tabs on things that are going on. Essentially what our next step is we plan to go visit some other 911 centers across the state that share kind of similar aspects to us as far as size, population, call volume goes, and then see some larger ones as well. So we're trying to schedule some visits right now with Harrisonburg, Rockingham, Albemarle, Charlottesville, UVA, Henrico, and Roanoke County to go visit those 4 centers and try and get a better idea of how other places operate, to give us some more perspective on the way things are done differently other places, to hopefully give us some information to bring back and help create some steam and momentum moving forward so that we can work together to correct some of these issues. Jason's been super supportive so far and super helpful through this process. I know he's already made some changes at the 911 center to fix some of the issues that we brought forward. I don't know if you want to speak to any of that, Jason.
Yeah, I guess a couple of the concerns that we had brought up is sometimes it's taking too long. It seems like to get calls dispatched out. That seems to be overall one of the big things. So we've done a realignment there, and especially when you look at motor vehicle crashes with unknown injuries, I'm just confirming with my people that if it's unknown injury, we need to get fire and rescue out the door and get them to those calls. I think we had a couple dispatchers or a couple shifts that were really trying to work too hard and narrow down, is there definitely somebody hurt on this call? And the more you try to narrow it down and get perfect information, the longer it takes. And so we're kind of, we're realigning back a little bit, and maybe we'll send the calls out a little bit quicker, but the information will be a little bit less reliable when we send it. So, we may send out a call, motor vehicle crash, unknown injuries, and then a minute or two later, you may get an update. Hey, we got a report from both drivers, nobody's injured, so your discretion what you want to do. So just expect you may hear a little more of that. And I would expect that you'll probably get dispatched to more motor vehicle crashes than you're used to. We're going to try to just push more of them out as unknown earlier.
like Jason was saying too, yeah, as you guys see things and hear things on the radio, please make sure you're bringing them to someone's attention so that we can try and address it. I'll give Jason a ton of credit. I've sent him probably a dozen calls now, and he's gone in and reviewed everyone, sent me the 911 calls, sent me the call taker information, and we've been able to kind of track down and either determine that there was an issue or that there wasn't anything to it. So keep using that approach because I think it helps everybody get a better picture. But I think at the end of the day, obviously the goal of the Joint Advisory Committee is to improve operations overall, not just at the 911 level, but also with interdepartment fire and rescue. And Chief Hanks, Chief English, and I sat down last week, and one of the things that is harder to accept is that we're all going to have to make changes and we're all going to have to make sacrifices for the better of the system. And change is hard, but we run a very complicated system that's not like anywhere else. And at some point, we're going to have to be able to make some sacrifices for the better of everybody. But I've got a lot of hope for that committee and that we'll be able to fix some things and make everything better. So.
Questions or comments from the group? Appreciate you guys working to help improve the systems, fine tune it, let's say.
Exactly what it is, fine tuned.
Volunteer incentives.
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody watched the board meeting where the budget was presented, but it was brought up at one point during the meeting about volunteer incentives and some safety equipment for the budget next year. I believe Angie has some more to talk about with that.
Thank you, Michael. Several board members had brought up with me that they wanted to explore providing incentives for volunteers, which I know you guys have talked about that in the past and had a little bit of trouble coming up with something that appealed to everyone. So one thing that I wanted to throw out, and I really want to get feedback from you to see if you think this will work, is I think everyone knows that right now the Code of Virginia allows one vehicle license, we call them decal fees, per active member. I think that Michael and I were talking about that earlier. I think the code limits that to one maybe per household, but we're gonna look at that and make sure we're doing that all three of us are doing that correctly, the towns and the county. But something else that we wanted to provide or ask you if you would be interested in receiving is the code also allows a personal property exemption for one vehicle, maybe if it was up to a certain dollar amount, and if that's a county initiative, that the county provides that personal property exemption for one of your personal vehicles up to say $500, for example, then there won't be it won't be in a conflict with anything that the towns are providing because it'll be a county tax, and it would just be similar to the decal process. You would get that exemption. So is that something that you all think would work, that would be attractive?
Yeah, I know that's what we had talked about too. When we went through our whole process, I mean, it was going through what we could change and help out. That's where we kind of hit the stop button. We couldn't figure out what to do on the paper call, so that kind of went away.
Right.
And we more or less hit exactly what you were kind of going for. That personal property is helpful for every member, I would think.
And the code does say that you either have to run calls on a regular basis or be an active member in a different way, which we all understand what that means. So we'd have to make sure that was taken care of. I think the chiefs would be responsible for reporting that. But if that's something that you think is a good idea, you think that towns would be okay with that too?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, we kind of waited to the last minute to figure out how many people get decals, that get free decals. I found that from Christiansburg. I believe they have about 60. And the county has about 40. I'm not sure about Blacksburg because we did ask them late in the day today. So it's a reasonable amount that we feel like we could provide. It could be that we use the same criteria as the people that are already getting the decal for, and then that would be an easy way to do it. So
Yeah, and the good point to that is it doesn't conflict with the town, because that was a problem they had, was the town incentives, didn't want to do this because you couldn't, because of the legality portion, but for a tax abatement, I guess.
right,
Abatement for that, it goes through.
Exemption, I think
So,
is the-
yeah,
yeah, exemption.
exemption, sorry,
It's
exemption.
okay.
Sorry, wrong choice of words. But that's something that the towns, that's their thing, but we can still do that from the county. That's to try to take care of everybody.
It's a great idea. Like I said, we tried to figure out something, and all the steps that we were going through, paper call was way too much, but I think this is a good step forward, definitely.
And I think it wouldn't be as cumbersome as if the county pays the agency a certain amount of money and then you guys have to distribute it and all that. It might be a little bit easier for that administrative piece as well.
It's a good incentive. I mean, I don't know what the ceiling's gonna be on it, but I mean, it's not gonna be chump change. It's gonna be a nice little chunk.
No, it's easier for the chiefs too. When you submit your active roster, it's pretty much
Right.
every year we have to do that anyway. So I think that falls in line with less work on the chief. So
Yeah. And we don't have to come up with the exact amount because those taxes aren't due until December. But we could get it in place so that when that property tax bill comes due in December, it could be effective. Assuming the board approves that.
Yes.
But we're gonna verify that it is one decal per person, per household and all that to make sure that that's the most we can do, because that would be something, if we were able to do more than that, we could look at that as well.
Because the personal property exemption just came up. I think it was just changed in the code
Right.
for fire and EMS for volunteers.
Right.
That's recent, so
I tried to look that up a minute ago when that came into effect. I can't find that, but it is recent.
yeah. So we're looking at this. We know we've been trying to explore this in the boards. It's been important to make sure that you guys know that everybody's valued. The hard part was trying to find something that would cross the lines with towns and the county without interfering with jurisdictional things. So if we can get this done, I think we can. I think this is a good way and a good tool you can use forward to, and maybe people get a little more active. I don't know.
yeah, thank y'all for doing that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, it's a great idea. That's always kind of been one of the top of my list on incentives of the tax breaks.
So good.
I think the only issue the one we talked about was before is some of the agencies that are heavy on students, it doesn't benefit them a lot.
If their vehicle, I did think about that. If the vehicle is not registered in the county, we can't exempt for other counties. That's true.
They're probably not gonna be around long anyway, so transition out fairly quick, so. But yeah, thank you for doing that, that's great.
I believe so.
Okay, any other old business? Moving on to new business, fiscal year 26 CIP, Chief Hanks.
Yeah, all the chiefs got together and we sat down, we went through the capital replacement for vehicles, with all the departments in the county. And, we came up with the current list of what we feel like needs to be replaced this upcoming year. It'd be an engine for Ellison Fire Department, engine 23 replacement. And then 4 response vehicle replacements, 2 for Christiansburg, 1 for the fire department, 1 for EMS. Long Shot McCoy Fire Department's response vehicle, and then Reiner Fire Department's response 45. So we're looking at 1 engine and 4 response vehicles. That'll give us just a little bit of money left over from our current funding that we can put back into our reserve fund in case we have something that is catastrophic during the year that we need to fix, and may not have the money to fix it, but that'll give us a little bit of money that will be left over from that. depending on what the bids come in on the engine and so forth.
I wanted to talk about the Elliston fire truck a little bit, engine, right, engine?
Engine.
Okay. As we've started implementing career staff, we have like 3 different scenarios. We have, in Reiner, we have career EMS and still active volunteer EMS. They're separate, they have their own funding. We have, it's different than what's going on in Elliston. In Shawsville, when the rescue squad quit existing, then we have career EMS in the Shawsville Elliston area. We have career and volunteers that'll be using this engine. And the county doesn't want to look like we're taking the volunteers allocation out of the CIP. I think that probably was talked about at committee level, but I just wanted to bring that forward. I think it might be something that our board of supervisors will want to talk about to make sure that we do it in an equitable way. And I think, Austin, that you're working with the career people, is that right, to kind of spec the truck, is that true?
Yep.
How's that going?
I mean, me and Tyler, we talk about trucks all the time.
Yeah. Is it working out well?
Yeah. I mean, you get along with all of them, so.
We appreciate that.
No, I'm glad to hear that too. That was always a worry, and I'm glad to hear that.
Was there discussion of that at the meeting, or?
There was, we had a discussion about, whether or not, who's the truck gonna belong to? Is it
Right.
gonna belong to the career people, or is it gonna belong to the volunteer people? My personal opinion on it is it's a county piece, and it belongs to the Elliston Fire Department. If you've got a career person on that truck and a volunteer person on that truck, it still belongs to Elliston Fire Department. I don't differentiate between the two. When it comes time to get on a fire truck and fight fire, we're not career, we're not volunteer, we're all the same person. We're firefighters and we get the job done. I think, that personally, I think, and if you look at the big picture, it all comes out of the same nest. Money all comes out of the same egg. I feel like that the way we've done it in the past is okay. If the board wants to do something different, then that's up to the board.
Because when the board has funded the career EMS ambulances, that it hasn't come out of that pot of money, so that it's a little bit.
It has not come out of that pot of money.
Chief Hanks, would you be willing to come present the CIP to our board like you did last year?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
this might come up at the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
If I'm in the state.
all right, well, we'll try to plan it out.
We'll try to schedule it when you're not, so, yeah. No, you understand, we just wanna make sure, again,
No problem.
the biggest thing is to be fair,
Right,
and
No
that's,
problem, absolutely, and I think the volunteers are still working well in Elliston with the career staff, and I think, moving forward, I think that's gonna be all over eventually. I think eventually it's gonna happen all over. But I think, getting this need for this engine, because this is the engine that we had trouble with, and the county attorney advised the county to take it out of service and get rid of the thing because we can't get it fixed and there's no guarantee to get it fixed. The committee agreed and felt like we needed to replace this unit instead of another unit that Elliston was due for first. I think their squad was up for replacement. This is more of an urgent need right here than the squad would have been to replace that vehicle, and the committee agreed and we voted to move forward with the current replacement cycle on it.
Any questions or comments on the committee's recommendation?
Who's gonna be using the truck the most?
Huh?
Who's gonna be using the truck the most?
The engine, both.
Well, if you're doing 24/7 paid, that's gonna be the paid's first truck out, correct?
I don't know how the running response is down there. I don't know how that's set up. I mean,
It's, the response is very dynamic. I mean, they're technically, when they come into work, they're assigned to an apparatus, but it changes throughout the day and depending on the call of what they're driving. So I mean, it's not necessarily gonna always be the first out truck.
Austin can probably elaborate on this some too, but every truck that's in that station's a shared asset. There's nothing that's ours versus theirs. It's all, they all say Elliston Volunteer Fire Department on the side of them, and they are there to get a job done. We don't look at them and say, well, that's our truck and that's their truck. It's shared, and that's kind of the approach that we wanted to take. We didn't want to make anybody feel like they were restricted to this or that just because a different group of people's riding on it more often.
it's really no different than what they do in Roanoke County. And if you look at the Fort Lewis station, in Roanoke County Station 9, they're typically a combination volunteer career station. The volunteers, there for a long time, run the station at night. I mean, they run from 6P to 6A every night, and they use the same trucks the career guys did. Career guys come in at 6A in the morning, run to 6P. Then Fort Lewis finally had to transition to a 24-hour station also. But still, they still have a group of volunteers that still come in and get on the same trucks, still use the same trucks. It's all county asset. I mean, it's all coming out of the same nest at the end of the day.
I guess you can kind of look at it as a transitional period, as long as there's volunteers there, and it still says Elliston on the side of the truck. It's
Still their truck.
It's still their truck.
Still their truck.
Any other comments? Not, the floor will entertain a motion for the follow the recommendations of the CIP committee.
Motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion is carried to follow the recommendations. Thank you, Chief Hanks, for leading that committee. McPhil's update.
Yeah, I just real quick wanted to elaborate on what Supervisor Kitts had mentioned with career staffing down in Elliston. We wanted to bring it before this group just to make sure that everybody's well aware of it. It was publicized in the budget when it came out a couple weeks ago. But just to provide an update, we've proposed to hire 12 more firefighters for the Elliston station next fiscal year that would take us from the 12-hour daytime coverage that we currently have to 24-hour coverage down there. Again, it would be in stride with the volunteers down there that when they're available and around, we're all step and we're working together. But that's been proposed. It'll obviously be pending the outcome of the budget approval with the board, but if everything goes through, that's the plan for next year. Part of it is also contingent on finding available living quarters for the staff down there. As some of you all may know, the county's preparing to do a renovation of the Elliston station, and through that renovation, there'll be bunk space added and some additional amenities that will be accessible to both the career and volunteer staff that are down there. But while that renovation is going on, there'll be the need for living space down there. There are not currently enough bunk rooms in that station, and there certainly aren't enough rooms down there that are code compliant to be able to do it in. So we're looking at some exterior options. If you've seen the city of Radford set up, they've got some trailers outside of their station that serve as the living space for the career members there. We're kind of looking at doing the same thing. So we're in the process of looking for something right now. Nothing's been guaranteed yet. We just had to find a company and a vendor that can do it, and we're not sure what the timeline is right now, so that's all the update I have.
I have a question, Michael. Call totals for McPhil's fire, can we get that broke down to how many actual fire calls and how many EMS calls?
Yeah, Chief Hanks had actually mentioned that to me earlier today, and it's difficult to break it down in the existing spreadsheet for the commission, and we can change that however you all would like. The call totals that we do are mainly for y'all's awareness, so any way that you would like to see those, just let us know. But the fire staff are responding to EMS calls down in Elliston, so the statistics that you all have are not strictly fire calls in Elliston. So we can definitely break that down to give a better idea there.
Can I add one thing? I've meant to talk about this during the incentive piece. Zach brought some information to me a month or two ago about some gear that might be helpful for the firefighters that we had gotten for our career firefighters. I think it's wildfire turnout gear and some EV blankets, which we don't have those for the career staff, but it's something that had come up a couple times about looking into that. Maybe there were a few other things. I'd have that with me.
I think it was the turnout gear, so it's the non-cancerous gear that they have out now from Honeywell. And then the other one was for light duty gear.
Right.
And that one's for brush fires or for extrication, stuff like that. And that was something that I gave to them. It was just a quote for us, but I think it would be helpful for all of us to help us get out of gear that has stuff in it that may cause issues. But I gave it to her. I just gave her our quotes, but I think it's something that we all need to kind of look into, just changing out the type of gear that we have.
If you can talk to, maybe you guys could talk and coordinate through Michael and Tyler about how to proceed with that. I think we might be able to fund that with some one-time money to get it going, and then as you get that kind of gear, which I think it is really important that we make sure that we get the newer kind that has been shown to be safer.
They're just coming out with more studies now, showing that the gear that they had prior to what we had before to what they have now is a big difference.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna help all of us. And when I told her that, and it wasn't just for Reiner, I think we need to do it for the county. I know it may probably be a chunk of change, but I think it's definitely gonna, if it's the longevity of a fireman or fire lady, then that's gonna be better for all of us.
And if we get it, it might be a chunk of change the first time, and then if we get it in a cycle of how it gets replaced, it might be something that will not burden your budgets too much, as going forward, but in order to make the transition, we can look at
I think
that.
the good thing is I think we use the same vendor, so that's helpful, and we can just spec it out.
Yeah.
Pretty much similar, same.
Maybe you guys can reach out to them and see what they need, that kind of thing.
Yep. And I'll pass that on to them.
And I do have the information, I'll get that to Michael too.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Alright, moving on to discipline reports, we'll do McPhillips. Who gets that?
No report.
No report. Anything on special ops?
So the training and meeting we were originally planning to have got canceled due to one of the natural disasters that we dealt with. But we're now planning on having a meeting and training on April 9th, which is a Sunday from 9 a.m. to 1. We're gonna be at the Christiansburg Aquatic Center doing some dive training. But other than that, we're just continuing to kind of plan for what we're doing moving forward.
Okay. Chief English. Chief Smith. Chief Haynes.
Just like to thank Reiner Fire Department for helping us out on 81 the other day. We sort of got back to back with 3 calls at one time. We had a pretty big grass fire up on 81, and Reiner was able to get in there and help us get that one put out, and we appreciate that. Everything worked just like clockwork up there. We were able to get the brush trucks up in the median and just drive down between it and put the fire out. Also, for Reiner's help on Scott Street with the structure fire on Scott Street, and Blackspur for coming over and giving us help with that one also. Appreciate it. everybody's help working with us on that. That's all I got.
Alright, Josh, our report. Johnny Tech. Right?
Well, we got an oyster supper coming up, this Saturday, 2 to 6, I think is what it is. So y'all come out, oysters and chicken, so you ain't gotta mix it up with just the oysters. Hopefully y'all come in and have something to eat. I know everybody doesn't always like the oysters, but now we got a little extra stuff. But I do wanna thank every one of you for all your help. The past couple of years, it's been great, been fun, and I'll see you out there just with a different hat on. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Else? Chief?
The only thing I got, we talked about testing the Harris and the Motorola. Do we have any update on that?
I think Blacksburg Fire is working on trying to get some Motorola test radios in, last I heard.
Yeah, I think the last we heard was they're working on getting the program information so that they can program the radios so we can try them.
That's all I got.
Long Shop Rescue, I'll report on our pharmacy update. We did pass our Virginia Board of Pharmacy inspection received a CSR license. So we have applied for the DEA license. We applied a month ago, so there's supposed to be a 30-day turnaround, so we're looking for that any day. So April 15th's getting close, but we're not gonna have a lot of room to spare, but I think we'll make it. Appreciate the county's help with getting this moving on that. Our new ambulance in production. We traveled to Florida about 3 weeks ago to do a final inspection on it. That wasn't ready for a final inspection when we got there, so it's still pending. I asked the person that was, I guess, the CEO of Wheel Coach or whoever was the main person of Wheel Coach, why it took 900 days to produce an ambulance. He had a speech ready for me that made me sorry I asked. So, but anyway, hopefully that'll be ready soon. Michael, you have a report for us?
Yeah, the only thing I have real quick, it's been a little while now, but the fire from George's Run that we ran last month during the ice storm, just wanted to thank all the fire departments that were down there in Christiansburg Rescue for providing that mutual aid response. I think we were very fortunate that we were able to do a really good debrief on that call. And thanks to the 911 center and the sheriff's office, we were able to get all the audio and a lot of the video footage from body cams. So we were able to really sit down and analyze how it went, things that we could do better for next time, and try and get as much as we could out of it. So just want to thank everybody, and thanks everybody for taking the time to sit through the debrief. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Chief. Next item on our agenda is monthly call reports. They were been attached to the minutes.
I think they're just an email.
They were in the email. Unless there's any discussion on those, we'll move on to the last item. Anything else needs to come before the commission? Hearing none, our next meeting will be April 17th. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.